The stars looked different from this observation deck. Counselor Zixtar pressed a slender, six-fingered hand against the transparent barrier as he studied the distant yellow sun. His skin shimmered with a faint blue glow in the dim light of the chamber. "How long have they been watching them?" asked Junior Counselor Elith, her voice soft with concern. "Almost 300 cycles," Zixtar replied. The observation team was meant to stay for 10. The massive council ship hung in the darkness of space, cloaked from detection by technology so advanced it might as well have been magic to the inhabitants of the third planet. Earth, they called it, a simple name for what appeared to be a simple world. But appearances, as Zixtar had learned during his 800-year life, were often deceiving. "Show me the latest reports," he said. Holographic display appeared before them, filled with images and data collected by the observation team. Videos of cities growing at impossible speeds, weapons becoming more deadly by the decade, a species that seemed determined to either reach the stars or destroy themselves in the attempt. They went from basic flight to landing on their moon in less than 70 years, Elith noted with disbelief. "Is that normal?" "Nothing about them is normal," Zixtar said. "The Council has observed over 12,000 species. None have developed as quickly as these humans." The word felt strange in his mouth. Human. Such a simple word for such a complex problem. Miles below the alien ship, Commander Alara Phillips stood on the launch pad, her eyes fixed on the massive spaceship that represented humanity's greatest achievement. The horizon gleamed in the morning sunlight, its sleek design hiding the revolutionary technology within. "Beautiful, isn't she?" a voice said beside her. Alara turned to see Alan Murphy walking toward her, wiping grease from his hands with an old rag. His red hair was messy as usual, and dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept much. "I thought I told you to get some rest," she said, trying to sound stern but unable to hide her smile. Alan shrugged. The drive needed some final adjustments. Couldn't sleep knowing they weren't done. As chief engineer, Alan had spent the last 5 years working on the faster-than-light drive that would, if successful, change humanity's future forever. The theory had been developed by scientists around the world, but turning theory into reality had fallen to Alan and his team. "Is it ready?" Alara asked, her voice serious now. "As ready as it will ever be," he replied. "We've run every test we can while still on Earth. The rest, well, we'll find out soon enough." Alara nodded and looked back at the ship. In 3 days they would attempt what many still believed impossible: travel faster than light. If they succeeded, the stars would finally be within humanity's reach. "Commander Phillips, Mr. Murphy," a voice called out. They turned to see Sofia Rodriguez hurrying toward them, tablet in hand. As the mission science officer, Sofia was responsible for documenting every aspect of their journey, a task she approached with remarkable enthusiasm. "I've finished processing the data from yesterday's test," she said as she reached them. "Everything looks good, but there's something odd in the background radiation readings." Alan frowned. "Odd how?" Sofia showed them the tablet. "These energy patterns don't match anything in our database. They appeared briefly during the engine test and then vanished." "Could it be interference from the drive?" Alara asked. "Maybe," Sofia said, but she didn't sound convinced. "But these patterns are highly organized, almost like—" "Like what?" Alan prompted. Sofia hesitated. "Like a signal, but not from any known source on Earth." Before Alara could respond, the heavy footsteps of William Clark approached. The security chief moved with the careful precision of someone always ready for trouble, his eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. "Security sweep is complete, Commander," he reported. "All clear." William had been against the mission from the start, convinced that humanity wasn't ready for what they might find among the stars. But his concerns had been overruled, and now he was determined to ensure the mission's safety by any means necessary. "Thank you, Chief," Alara said. "Any issues with the protesters?" A small but vocal group had gathered outside the launch facility, carrying signs warning against the mission. Some feared what humanity might encounter in deep space. Others believe the resources could be better used solving Earth's problems. Nothing we can't handle, William replied. Extra security is in place as a precaution, in the council ship. Above, Zixtar watched the humans with growing concern. The observation team's reports were troubling. Humans were not just developing quickly, they were developing unpredictably. They're about to test a primitive version of spacefolding technology, Elith said, studying the data. Our models suggest they are at least 500 years away from such capability. Our models have been wrong about humans before, Zixtar replied grimly. That's what makes them so concerning. Should we stop them? Elith asked. It would be simple to disable their ship. Zixtar considered this. The Council had strict rules about interfering with developing species. Observation only, until a species achieved true interstellar travel. But humans were advancing so rapidly, the old rules might not apply. No, he decided finally. We watch for now, but alert the Council. If they succeed with this test, we may need to reconsider our approach. As night fell over the launch facility, Ilara stood alone in the control room, reviewing the mission plans one final time. In 72 hours, humanity would either take its first step toward becoming an interstellar species, or the horizon would become just another failed experiment. She thought about the energy patterns Sophia had detected. Probably nothing, just an anomaly in their instruments. But a small part of her wondered if there was something more to it, if they weren't as alone in the universe as humanity had always believed. Little did she know, high above Earth, ancient eyes were watching. The Galactic Council had spent centuries debating what to do about humans. Some argued for immediate containment. This species was too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed among the stars. Others advocated for contact and guidance. But, as the horizon prepared for its historic journey, time for debate was running out. The Council had tried to warn its members about the strange creatures from Earth, their violence, their resourcefulness, their disturbing ability to advance beyond all predicted models. But it was already too late. Humanity was about to take its first step into a much larger universe, and nothing would ever be the same again. The day of the launch arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. Perfect conditions, the news reporters said. Commander Ilara Phillips didn't believe in omens, but she took it as a good sign anyway. The crew of the Horizon gathered in the ship's main conference room for their final briefing. Ilara looked at each face in turn. Alan Murphy, his eyes bright with excitement despite his lack of sleep. Sofia Rodriguez, tablet in hand as always, ready to document this historic moment. William Clark, stone-faced but alert. And the rest, of the crew. 12 men and women chosen from thousands of applicants the best Earth had to offer. In 6 hours, we'll attempt what many believe impossible, Ilara said. If we succeed, nothing will ever be the same. If we fail, she paused. If we fail, others will follow in our footsteps. Either way, today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. No one mentioned the other possibility, that they might simply disappear, lost forever in the space between stars. That risk came with the job. High above Earth, the Council observation ship buzzed with activity. What had begun as a routine monitoring mission had quickly escalated. The full Galactic Council, representatives from 23 advanced civilizations, had gathered in emergency session. They're actually going to attempt it, said Vrex, the delegate from a warrior race known for their tactical minds. His scaled skin shifted colors with his mood, currently a deep red of alarm. Our scientists analyzed their design. It might actually work. Even if it does, they're centuries away from being a real threat, countered Lumina, representative of a species that had mastered energy manipulation millennia ago. Her form, made of pure light, flickered with calm blue patterns. We should welcome them, guide them. Zixtar, as senior counselor, listened to the arguments with growing concern. For 10,000 years, the Council had maintained peace through careful management of developing species. Their protocols were clear: no contact until a species achieved stable interstellar travel on their own. but humans were advancing too quickly, breaking all their models. "We need more time to study them," said another counselor. "We've studied them for centuries," Zixtar replied. "And they still surprise us. That's the problem." After hours of debate, they reached a compromise. Send an ambassador to meet the humans if their test succeeded, but position a security fleet nearby as a precaution. Ambassador Nile Tech, a veteran diplomat known for his success with volatile species, volunteered immediately. "I have studied their languages and customs," he said. "I believe I can establish peaceful first contact." On Earth, final preparations for launch were underway. Alan ran through system checks while Sophia calibrated the scientific instruments that would record every aspect of their journey. William secured the ship, personally inspecting every section. Alara sat alone in her quarters, recording a final message for her brother back home. "Joe, if you're watching this, then something went wrong," she said to the camera. "But don't be sad. We knew the risks. What we're doing today matters. It opens doors for all humanity. Take care of Dad and tell him I was thinking of him, right? Until—" A knock interrupted her. It was Alan. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, his voice tight with tension. In the control room, Sophia had isolated the strange energy readings she'd detected earlier. They were stronger now, more defined. "It's definitely a signal," she said, "and it's coming from space near Earth's orbit." "Military satellites?" William suggested, already thinking of threats. Sophia shook her head. "The pattern is too complex. This isn't human technology." A heavy silence filled the room as the implication sank in. "Are you saying—" Alan began. "We're not alone," Alara finished for him, "and whoever's out there is watching us." They debated whether to report their findings. If they told their superiors, the launch would almost certainly be delayed. Years of work would be put on hold while politicians and military leaders argued about what to do. "We have a mission," Alara said finally. "The Horizon was built to seek out what's beyond our solar system. If someone's already here watching us, that makes our mission even more important." The decision made, they proceeded with the launch. As the countdown reached 0, the Horizon rose into the sky on a column of flame, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams toward the stars. In orbit, final preparations were made for the faster-than-light test. The ship's revolutionary drive hummed with power as Alan made his final adjustments. "All systems nominal," he reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. "Ready when you are, Commander." Alara took a deep breath. This was the moment everything had been leading to. "Engage FTL drive," she ordered. For a second, nothing seemed to happen. Then the stars outside the viewport began to stretch into lines of light. The ship shuddered. Alarms blared as the unknown technology strained against the fabric of space itself. "Power surge in the main drive," Alan shouted over the noise, compensating. "Hold it together," Alara commanded, her knuckles white as she gripped her chair. And then suddenly the noise stopped. The shaking ceased. Outside the viewport, the stars looked different. They were not the familiar constellations of Earth's sky. It worked, Sophia whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "We did it." Before they could celebrate, the ship's sensors detected something massive appearing nearby. A ship, no, multiple ships, had seemingly materialized from nowhere. They dwarfed the Horizon, their sleek designs unlike anything humans had ever built. "Defensive positions," William ordered, but Alara raised a hand to stop him. "We're outmatched," she said quietly. "If they wanted to destroy us, they already would have." The largest alien vessel moved closer. A signal came through on all frequencies, translating itself somehow into English. "Humans of Earth," came a voice that seemed both ancient and gentle. "I am Ambassador Niltek of the Galactic Council. We have been watching your progress for some time. Your achievement today marks a significant milestone. We wish to establish peaceful contact." As the crew of the Horizon stared in shock at the alien fleet back on Earth, chaos erupted. The alien ships, while invisible to most Earth technology, were detected by several advanced military installations. Emergency meetings were called, defense systems were activated, and in a bunker deep beneath the Pentagon, General Peter Owen made a fateful decision. We can't trust these aliens just appeared. The moment we achieved FTL, he told the hastily assembled military council. It's too convenient. Launch the experimental Titan missiles at the largest vessel. Despite protests that they should wait for the Horizon to report back, the order was given. 3 missiles, the most advanced weapons Earth had ever created, streaked toward space, aimed at Ambassador Neil Tech's ship. The Council's security fleet detected the incoming weapons immediately, but confident in their superior technology, they made a critical error. They underestimated human weapon capability. The missiles detonated with unexpected force, breaching the Ambassador's ship. Neil Tech and many of his crew died instantly, though remaining Council ships reacted immediately, implementing emergency protocols. A planetary blockade was established around Earth. The Horizon, caught beyond the blockade, was effectively stranded. The Galactic Council had tried to warn them about humans, but it was too late. First contact had ended in tragedy, and the consequences would echo across the stars. The crew of the Horizon watched in horror as the Ambassador's ship erupted in a series of explosions. The beautiful vessel, which had seemed almost alive with its flowing lines and pulsing lights, broke apart in the silence of space. What just happened? Sophia whispered, her face pale with shock. A transmission from Earth answered her question. General Owen's stern face appeared on the main screen. Horizon, this is Earth Command. We've neutralized the alien threat. Return to Earth. Immediately. Ilara stared at the screen in disbelief. General, what have you done? They were attempting peaceful contact. We don't know their intentions, Commander, Owen replied. Our duty is to protect Earth. Return immediately. That's an order. Before Ilara could respond, the communication was cut. In its place, a new signal appeared, not from Earth but from one of the remaining alien ships. Humans of the vessel Horizon, came a voice filled with barely controlled anger. Your kind has committed an act of war against the Galactic Council. The Ambassador came in peace and you responded with violence. The alien ships began to move, forming a barrier between the Horizon and Earth. They're establishing a blockade, William said, checking the sensors. They're cutting Earth off from the rest of space. Can we break through? Ilara asked Alan. The engineer ran calculations on his console, then shook his head. Not a chance. Their technology is far beyond ours. If we try, they'll destroy us without breaking a sweat. Ilara faced a terrible choice. Follow orders and attempt to return to Earth, likely dying in the process, or stay where they were, cut off from home. There's a third option, Sophia said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. We go forward. We were sent to explore. So let's explore. And leave Earth to face the consequences of what just happened? William asked. We can't help Earth if we're dead, Alan pointed out. But if we learn more about these aliens, maybe we can find a way to fix this mess. Ilara considered their options. The mission had changed completely, but their purpose remained, to represent humanity among the stars. Now, that representation had become more important than ever. Set course away from the blockade, she ordered. We're going deeper into Council space. As the Horizon moved away from Earth, the situation back home grew increasingly tense. The alien blockade allowed no ships in or out, but did not attack. Communication signals passed through unhindered, allowing Earth to maintain contact with the Horizon. Nancy Foster, head of the newly formed Global Defense Initiative, worked around the clock to coordinate Earth's response. A brilliant strategist with a background in both diplomacy and military planning, she found herself in charge of humanity's most critical task, preparing for possible alien invasion. The blockade appears to be defensive, not offensive, she told. World leaders gathered in an emergency session. They haven't attacked despite what we did to their ambassador. That suggests they're not here to destroy us. Then what do they want? Asked the President of the United States. Nancy studied the data collected about the alien ships. I think they're containing us, like quarantine. Meanwhile, on board the Horizon, Alan had made a remarkable discovery. While examining the data collected, during their encounter with the Council ships, He found patterns in their energy signatures that seemed familiar. It's similar to how our FTL drive works, but vastly more efficient, he explained to Alara. If I can understand how they do it, maybe I can improve our own drive. Sophia had been working on decoding the aliens' communication network. Their technology automatically translated spoken language, but written communications remained encrypted. After days of effort, she made a breakthrough. I've accessed what seems to be their information network, she announced. It's like their version of the internet, but spanning multiple star systems. The information they gathered painted a complex picture. The Galactic Council wasn't a single unified force, but rather an alliance of diverse species, each with their own agendas and opinions. Some viewed humans as dangerous and unpredictable. Others saw potential in humanity's unique approach to problems. Most concerning were references to something called the Protocols, strict rules governing how the Council interacted with developing species. The attack on the ambassador had violated these protocols in the most serious way possible. According to their laws, Earth should be... Sophia hesitated, looking for a better translation, but found none. Sterilized. They're debating whether to wipe out all life on our planet. We need to stop them, William said, his hand instinctively moving to where his weapon would be. We can't fight them, Alara reminded him. We need a different approach. Back on Earth, humans were doing what they did best, adapting. From the data transmitted by the Horizon, scientists worked to understand the aliens' technology. Military strategists studied their tactics and formations, looking for weaknesses. Diplomats prepared messages of peace and reconciliation, hoping to open dialogue. But most importantly, they worked on replicating the Horizon's FTL drive. If Earth could build more ships like the Horizon, they might find a way through the blockade. Nancy Foster stood in the vast underground facility where dozens of engineers worked on the new fleet. The first ship, nearly complete, gleamed under the bright lights. How soon? She asked the project director. 2 months, maybe less, he replied. We're working around the clock. Make it 1 month, Nancy said. We don't know how long the Council will debate before they make their decision. What neither Earth nor the crew of the Horizon realized was that they had gained an unexpected advantage. The Council, for all its advanced technology and millennia of experience, had never encountered a species quite like humans before. Most species followed predictable patterns of development, taking centuries or even millennia to advance from one technological stage to the next. The Council's protocols were designed for such species, slow, careful integration into the galactic community. Humans were different. In the few weeks since the blockade began, Alan had already reverse-engineered several alien technologies. Sophia had decrypted communication systems that the Council believed impenetrable to less advanced species. William had developed combat strategies that accounted for the aliens' different physiologies and technologies. And on Earth, Nancy Foster had united humanity in a way no external threat had ever managed before. Old enemies became allies. Resources were shared. The brightest minds worked together toward a common goal. The Council had tried to warn its members about humans, their unpredictability, their resilience, their ability to advance at an alarming rate. But it was too late. The very qualities that made humans dangerous were now their greatest strength. As the Horizon ventured deeper into Council space, they prepared to make contact with other alien species. They would need allies if they hoped to save Earth. And unknown to them, forces were gathering in the darkness beyond Council space. Ancient enemies watching the chaos unfold with keen interest, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. 3 months passed since the fateful first contact. The Horizon traveled deeper into Council space, carefully avoiding detection when possible. They had learned quickly that their small ship could slip through gaps in the Council's monitoring network, gaps that existed because no one had ever needed to look for them before. Ilara sat in her quarters reviewing their progress. They had managed to visit 2 inhabited star systems, always keeping their distance, observing and learning. The alien worlds were wonders beyond imagination, cities that floated in the clouds, beings made of light and sound, technology that seemed like magic. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Sophia. her eyes bright with excitement. "Commander, I found something," she said. "A system at the edge of Council space. The inhabitants are called the Xylorians. According to the data I've gathered, they're not happy with the Council." "Not happy how?" Ilara asked. "They were recently brought under Council control. From what I can tell, it wasn't entirely peaceful." Ilara considered this information. "You think they might help us?" "It's worth a try," Sophia replied. "We need allies, and they have reason to dislike the Council." The decision made, they set course for the Xylorian system. Meanwhile, Alan continued his work on understanding and improving the alien technologies they had observed. He had already modified the Horizon's engines, making them more efficient and harder to detect. William had been quieter lately, spending hours studying the Council's military tactics and defenses. Today he joined Ilara on the bridge with a grim expression. "We're being followed," he said without preamble. "A small Council ship has been tracking us for the past week." "Why haven't they confronted us?" Ilara asked. "I don't know," William admitted. "But I don't like it." The answer came sooner than expected. As they approached the Xylorian system, their sensors detected multiple ships emerging from faster-than-light travel nearby. "Council vessels?" Ilara asked, already suspecting the worst. Sophia checked the readings. "No, the design is different. I don't recognize them from any of the Council records I've accessed. The unknown ships moved with purpose, forming a blockade of their own around the Xylorian planet. One of them broke formation and headed directly for the Horizon." "They've seen us," William said, moving to the weapons station. The Horizon wasn't designed for combat, but they had managed to adapt some of the scientific equipment into basic defenses. "Wait," Ilara ordered. "Let's see what they want first." A transmission came through, displaying a humanoid figure with pale silver skin and forearms. Its voice was surprisingly melodic. "Human vessel, we have been watching you. I am Commander Krell of the Resistance. We wish to speak with you." Back on Earth, progress continued at a rapid pace. Nancy Foster stood in the launch facility, watching, as the first of Earth's new fleet prepared for its maiden voyage. The ship was named Defiance, a statement of humanity's refusal to be contained. "The blockade hasn't changed in months," reported her assistant, Greg Lawson. "Still allowing communications, but nothing physical in or out." "And the Council?" Nancy asked. "Still debating our fate, according to the Horizon's reports. Some factions want to destroy us. Others want to study us. A few even want to welcome us." Nancy nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And what about the other matter?" Greg lowered his voice. "General Hayes continues to push for a military solution. He's gathering support among other military leaders." Nancy had feared this. While she worked to find a diplomatic solution to the crisis, others saw only one path forward: force. General Victor Hayes, with his charismatic personality and impressive military record, had become the voice of those who believed humanity should fight rather than negotiate. "Keep an eye on him," she said. "We can't afford division right now." As the Defiance rose into the sky, Nancy couldn't help but worry. The ship carried their best diplomats, scientists, and a small but well-trained security team. Their mission was to find the Horizon and establish contact with friendly alien species. But if Hayes had his way, future ships would carry very different cargo. On the far side of the blockade, the Horizon followed Commander Krell's ship to a hidden base inside an asteroid field. The base was a marvel of engineering, completely invisible to sensors unless you knew exactly where to look. "The Council believes they control this sector," Krell explained as they docked. "They are wrong. Inside they found a bustling community of Xylorians, and, to their surprise, members of other species as well. Not all Council races agree with their policies," Krell told them as they walked through the base. "Some of us believe in freedom for all species to develop in their own way. The Resistance, as they called themselves, had been watching Earth since the blockade began. They had also been tracking the Horizon's journey through Council space. Your ability to adapt and learn is remarkable, Krell said. In just 3 months, You've accomplished what takes most species years or decades. We don't have years, Ilara replied simply. The Resistance offered an alliance. They had technology and knowledge the humans needed. In return, they wanted humanity's help against the Council, not to destroy it, but to reform it. The Council was meant to guide and protect, not control and suppress, Creel explained. Over millennia, they've forgotten their purpose. As they discussed terms of cooperation, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. On screens around them, they saw Council ships appearing at the edge of the asteroid field. They found us, Krell said, his melodic voice now harsh with urgency. We must evacuate. But it was too late. The Council ships moved with surgical precision, cutting off escape routes and deploying smaller vessels to enter the asteroid field. This isn't a standard Council tactic, William observed, studying their movements. This is something different. Sophia worked frantically at a communication terminal, trying to access the Council network. What she found chilled her blood. It's not the Council, she said, her voice shaking. The ships are using Council designs, but their communication codes are all wrong. This is someone else. One of the Resistance members, an elder Xylorian, looked at the data and stepped back in horror. The Void Collective, he whispered. They have returned. Who? Ilara asked, sensing the fear that had suddenly filled the room. An ancient enemy, Creel explained. Believed to be extinct for thousands of years. They consume everything in their path, resources, technology, even entire species. And they're using Council ships, William noted. Why? To sow confusion, the elder said. The Council will blame the Resistance. We will blame the Council. While we fight each other, the collective grows stronger. As the enemy ships closed, Ilara realized they faced something far worse than the Council's disapproval. This was a threat to all life, human and alien alike. We need to warn Earth, she said. And the Council too. But communications were already being jammed. The horizon was cut off, trapped with the Resistance in what was quickly becoming a killing ground. The Void Collective had returned, drawn by the chaos humans had caused in the carefully ordered galaxy. And as their ships prepared to attack, Ilara understood with terrible clarity that the Council's fear of humanity had distracted them from a far greater threat, one that now threatened them all. Inside the asteroid base, chaos erupted as the first wave of Void Collective ships broke through the outer defenses. The Resistance fighters moved with practiced efficiency, but fear showed clearly on their faces. We have emergency escape vessels, Krell told Ilara, but they can't outrun those ships. They don't need to outrun them, Alan said suddenly. They just need to disappear. Everyone turned to look at him. I've been studying the Council cloaking technology, he explained. With some modifications, we could adapt it to the escape ships. That would take days, one of the Xylorian engineers objected. Alan shook his head. Give me 3 hours and your best engineers. While Alan worked on the cloaking devices, William organized the defense. Though not a soldier by training, his security background and quick thinking made him a natural leader in crisis. He positioned fighters at key choke points, creating overlapping fields of fire that would slow the enemy advance. Sophia and Ilara worked with Krell to collect all the data they could about the Void Collective. They needed to warn both Earth and the Council about this threat, but first, they had to survive. The collective was thought defeated millennia ago. The elderly Xylorian explained. They don't just conquer, they absorb. Technology, knowledge, even physical forms. What do you mean, physical forms? Ilara asked. They can take the appearance of those they've captured, he replied grimly. They could look like Council soldiers, Resistance fighters, even humans. This explained why the Council had failed. To detect them. The collective had infiltrated their ranks, hiding in plain sight while gathering strength. In less than 3 hours, Alan emerged from the engineering bay, exhausted but triumphant. It's done. Not perfect, but it should work long enough for the ships to reach safety. As the last civilians boarded the escape vessels, the first sounds of fighting reached the main hangar. William and his makeshift defense force were falling. Back, Buying time. Commander. William's voice came through the comm system. We can't hold them much longer. We're almost ready, Alara replied. Just a few more minutes. But they didn't have minutes. The hangar doors buckled under some tremendous force. Metal screamed as the massive barriers were torn open. Through the gap came creatures unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They had the basic shape of various council races, but distorted, with metallic growths covering portions of their bodies. Their movements were too fluid, too perfect to be natural. Get those ships out now, Krell ordered. As the escape vessels launched, Alara faced a terrible choice. The Horizon could escape with them, carrying the vital warning to Earth, but that would mean abandoning William and the others still fighting. Go, Commander. William's voice came again, now calm despite the sounds of battle around him. Someone has to warn Earth. Before she could respond, a massive explosion rocked the base. The hangar ceiling cracked, debris raining down. Through the newly formed gap in the asteroid, a ship appeared. Not a Void Collective vessel, but a Council warship. This is High Commander Zix Tar of the Galactic Council, a voice announced over all communication channels. All forces stand down. The Council ship fired with surgical precision, targeting the Void Collective forces while avoiding the defenders. More Council ships appeared, forming a protective barrier around the asteroid. In the confusion, the Horizon crew reunited. William arrived with the last of the Resistance fighters, injured but alive. The Council saved us? He asked in disbelief. Their answer came when a shuttle docked in what remained of the hangar. The doors opened to reveal a tall, blue-skinned alien with 6 fingers on each hand. Zix Tar himself. We detected unusual activity in this sector, he explained. When we realized it was the Void Collective, we acted immediately. Why help? Us? Alara asked. We're enemies, aren't we? Zix Tar's expression was unreadable to human eyes. The Collective threatens all sentient life. Against such a threat, old disputes become meaningless. Back on Earth, the situation had changed dramatically. The Defiance had managed to slip through a gap in the blockade, thanks to technology developed from the Horizon's data. When they reached open space, they received a transmission, not from the Horizon but from a Council ship. Nancy Foster stood in the main hall of the United Nations as the alien transmission played for the assembled leaders. People of Earth, said Zix Tar, we have been monitoring your progress and your response to the blockade. While your initial attack was regrettable, your subsequent actions have shown restraint and wisdom. The transmission explained the emergence of the Void Collective and proposed a temporary alliance against this common enemy. Your ship, the Horizon, and its crew have proven that humans, despite their unpredictability, can be valuable allies. Commander Phillips has suggested a joint operation against the Collective. We are inclined to agree. Not everyone welcomed this development. General Hayes and his supporters saw it as a trick, a way for the aliens to gain access to Earth's defenses. But Nancy recognized the opportunity for what it was, a chance not just for survival, but for a place among the stars. 1 month later, a combined fleet gathered at the edge of Council space. Council warships flew alongside vessels from the Resistance and Earth's small but growing fleet. At the center was the Horizon, modified with both human and alien technology. Alara stood on the bridge beside Zix Tar and Krell, 3 representatives of very different civilizations united by necessity. The Collective has established a main base in the Cassiopeia Nexus, Zix Tar explained, showing a holographic map of the region. We must strike there to cripple their operations. Their technology adapts quickly, Krell added. Standard weapons become less effective the longer we fight. Then we need something they've never encountered before, Alan said. Something unpredictable. And that was where humanity's greatest strength came into play. While Council technology was advanced, it had developed along predictable lines over thousands of years. The Void Collective could adapt to it quickly. But humans had taken a different path. Earth's technologies were a chaotic mix of solutions, developed not through careful planning but through necessity and creativity, and now Alan had found a way to use that to their advantage. Their systems are based on ordered patterns, he explained. Our radio technologies, which the Council considers primitive, create interference patterns they can't easily adapt to. But the plan was risky. Use modified Earth communications equipment to disrupt the collective's highly organized command network, then strike with combined forces while they were vulnerable. As the fleet prepared for battle, Ilara received a private message from Zixtar. When we first observed your species, he said, many on the Council feared what you might become. Your unpredictability, your capacity for violence, your rapid advancement, all seemed to mark you as dangerous. Were they wrong? Ilara asked. No, Zixtar admitted. But they were incomplete in their assessment. Those same traits properly channeled make you formidable allies. The battle that followed would be recorded in the histories of a dozen worlds. The human disruption technology worked better than anyone had dared hope, throwing the collective into disarray. The combined fleet struck with devastating effectiveness, Council precision complemented by human adaptability and resistance determination. When it was over, the collective was not destroyed. Such an ancient enemy could not be eliminated in a single battle, but they were crippled, forced to retreat to the darkness between galaxies. In the aftermath, the Council formally lifted the blockade of Earth. Humanity was granted provisional status in the galactic community, not full membership, but a beginning. The Council had tried to warn its members about humans, their unpredictability, their capacity for violence, their alarming rate of advancement. But it was too late. Humans were already among the stars, changing the galactic order simply by existing. And perhaps that was for the best. For in the face of threats like the Void Collective, the galaxy needed something unpredictable. It needed humans.